chat with me, Sergio Paez, and it's Monday. It's a wonderful day, and we're being productive and we're trying to do some cool stuff. So, I have a bunch of topics I want to talk about, especially when it comes to story resources. And yes, not just the ones that you see on Storyboard Art. Of course, you can go there and check out that stuff. But just resources in general, and it goes from the gamut. So it could be free resources all the way on up to paid stuff. But I want to talk about the free and accessible things that you guys can do to improve your storytelling and improve your art. So let me give a big shout out to people who are just joining. Hey, what's up, Chad? How are you, my friend? Good to see you. Good to see everybody there. I love seeing the mentorship guys out here. So I see Joe is on there on Instagram. Thanks for joining. I hope everything's going well. And I love the mentorship crew. I told you guys a little bit about that. We had a group of highly focused story guys, and everybody was there to improve their work, and it was a really wonderful experience. And we're looking to repeat that again this year. We have to work out the scheduling, especially with with the Corona lockdown and everything that's happened in 2020. But we'll figure it out to make those things available for people. So one thing, if you guys have any resources that you want to share with the group, this is a good time to do it. I think part of the reason I want to come on and do these chats is so that one, you get connected, and you build your network, and you also get some info, so that it's something that you get something out of. You're not just going to hear me talk, because nobody wants to hear me talk. What I want to do is at least give you something you can use in your own art and your own career, so that it can improve, and you can push your career in the right direction and make sure that your stories are getting stronger. That's the whole idea about it. Now, I have a bookshelf behind me that is kind of my art library, my little reference library, and I've collected a ton of books over the years. And this all kind of started when I first went to art school a long time ago. And at first, it was just whatever I could afford. And then little by little, I would go to like used bookstores. And then when things got a little more advanced online and Amazon came up, it was cool to get some of the rare books that were really hard to find. So one of the things that I could point you guys right now is bookfinder.com. That was a resource that I used, and I still use every once in a while, in addition to Amazon, of course, and just Google searches. But bookfinder.com is a cool place to find rare and used books. And I can buy like for really good prices, because it's connected with a ton of bookstores around around the world, because I think there's some English bookstores that I bought some stuff from London and things over there. So check that out for for some resources as far as books. So I'm going to be going through some resources here. There are things that I would consider advanced and really dense, and other stuff that is more lightweight, let's say, but still very valuable, and things that you want to be focused on and learning. So let me tell you a little bit, just real quick, before I get into this, and we'll answer your questions too. So if you have any questions, please send those in. Type those in the chat, whatever you got to do. And so the whole reason we started Storyboard Art was because back in I think it was 2008, we started doing these story seminars, and just in person in San Francisco at Lucasfilm. We were developing a new pipeline and a new 3D story process, and we were training other people. The story department was training other people in the layout department and other 3D department to come on to the story team and do what we called 3D story, which was a combination of previs and storyboards and everything all together. But it was mainly focused on telling the story. And what I found out was the skills that we had built up in the story department as a story artist, with visual storytelling and understanding composition and knowing how to cut and pacing and all of that, was actually quite involved and difficult to learn. You had to be able to tell other people. So we started training these guys, and they picked it up pretty well, because everybody there was talented, really talented artists. But then I started doing these kind of story seminars in this a private class group, and out of that grew what we have today, which is Storyboard Art. The reason I started this, because it was so hard for me to find this information. I really had to scrape by, and I learned by other people telling me. So I learned because I had mentors, and I wouldn't necessarily consider them it wasn't anything official, right? But it was guys in the studios that I was working for, and I would just humbly turn in my work, and they would look at it, and my supervisors, my directors, and they would start correcting it. And I'd be like, oh man, these guys are giving me information I need. And they would tell me things like, have you seen this book? Do you know this artist? Check out this movie. Those are things that you got to be doing. And I would go home on the weekends and in the nights and just study and just really get into it because I loved it. I wanted to do this. I wanted to be a filmmaker. I wanted to be a story artist. I wanted to be successful at this. One, I wanted to keep my job because if I wasn't able to do it, I would have got fired and a big boot in the ass. But you know, despite that, I feel like I had a natural inclination to understanding these things and a real curiosity about learning. And I was a pretty good student. Okay, so that's one theme that I'm gonna continue with this is just being a good student. Hey, Marcel, I want to say hi to you. Good to see you. Hope everything's well. Another alum from our mentorship group. Anyway, back to the story was that I had accumulated handouts and photocopies and just books and, like I said, rare books and stuff that I had to find. And I created kind of my own personal library, which is the stuff that you see behind me. And some of these books I'm going to show you are pretty old. I've had them for like over 10 years. One of these books I've had since college. So it's at least like 25 years old. I'm giving away my age, right? At any rate, I collected these things because it was so hard to find. I wanted to learn this stuff. And over the years, just working through others and getting in the studio system, we had to do this. So I didn't want that same struggle for other people. I wanted to be able to have a resource, and I was super thankful for people. And you know, when the internet really kicked in a big way and people started publishing stuff, there's great blogs out there from artists and story people who have published their things and showed their work. Have you guys seen The Temple of the Seven Camels? I think that artist is still publishing. Ted Kennedy from Disney. Look that up, and I think that's still going. What an amazing resource! What a fantastic artist, and just wonderful, generous teacher. And I think he's a director now and a story supervisor, and just an amazing artist. You guys should follow him on Instagram. But he's had a blog going for like many years. And so that was something that's like super exciting. And I learned about that from Ted Mathot, who's at Pixar. And he's like, hey, you should check out The Temple of the Seven Camels. I was like, what? And sure enough, I was like, oh man, this is a gold mine. Check it out. So that's all good. So anyway, so the whole point of storyboard art is to be a resource for people to learn visual storytelling. And there's a lot of free stuff on there. We publish a lot of stuff for free. So if you go to that website, you can register for free. You get access to the Pro Artist Guide, which is a very basic breakdown of kind of general things that you need to follow. But there's book suggestions. Oh, dude, thank you, Chad, for just posting that. So if you go to Facebook and you see what Chad Prickle just was posted, the Seven Camels blog, and that goes back years, man. That guy is amazing. We should all follow him and thank him for his wonderful generosity as an artist and as a creative. And in fact, just thank him for being just for existing, because the work he's producing has created some awesome films, right? Anyway, so the resources you can find, go and look at the book recommendations. That's some of the things I'm going to talk about here. And, you know, it's not like I only wrote like a couple of books. There's a small guide that I wrote, and there's my storyboard book. You can get that if you want. People had some very nice comments. It's nice to see that on Amazon. Very humbled and thankful for that. But I wrote that with the co-author Anson Ju, who's also a really badass Hollywood filmmaker and story artist. And so that's my book. Okay, shameless plug aside, go to the other books that are there. I'm going to tell you about them. So let's get started with that. So this one, let's get started with something pretty easy that I think everybody can follow pretty well. So this is Bridgeman's life drawing guide. And George Bridgeman, if you know who this is, has a series of figure drawing books. He was an academic teacher back in like the back in the 40s, 50s, maybe even earlier 30s, 20s, I think 20s, because he taught Norman Rockwell. And if you know who that is, like he's just the man when it comes to anatomy. And these books, they break it down in a simple way. I'm just kind of flipping through this to show you some of the stuff. And yeah, you might think he's got this big blocky style, but if you can draw like Bridgman, you understand the structure of the human body. It's great. And yeah, awesome. I love it. Distract, you're saying that book is good. And who else put it up there that they like this book? Yeah, Casper Illustration. Thanks, man. I think this is, and there's a whole series of these books. They're really cheap. On Amazon, you can get like an updated version. This one says it's like $7, $8. I don't know what it costs now, but again, I think we probably have a a relink from Amazon on our StoryboardArt website, so you can find that. But I highly recommend these books. And in fact, so I just said George Bridgman. If you're broke and you can't afford anything, and Corona is getting you down, well, you got to just do a web search. You're gonna find images that people have scanned in or took pictures of, and you can study this stuff for free. You don't have to spend any money here. This is what I'm telling you is the amazing thing about the time we lived in. Do you know how hard it was to find this stuff when I was coming up as an artist? And I'm still in my prime. I feel like I'm not even that old. Like imagine the generations before me, the Nine Old Men and all those guys that came up in the 50s and 60s, where there was no internet. They were just passing around photocopies. They didn't even know, maybe some guys didn't even know that George Bridgman existed unless it was like passed down. So check him out. He's really, really good. So the reason I recommend him is because it's a simple book. It's got really clear instructions, and you can learn this stuff really fast. Now, if you want to go in depth, there are other anatomy books that you can really go to town on, but I think this is a really good start, okay? Another one talking about drawing, and this one you may not know, it's also on our book. This is Drawing People by Barbara Bradley, okay? I studied with this woman at the Academy of Art in San Francisco. She's a longtime illustration chair. Unfortunately, she's passed on now, and it was a wonderful honor for me to be in her classes. And I really am so inspired. I learned so much from this woman. She was such a badass. I mean, she was so hardcore. She didn't take shit from anybody. You had to come, you had to bring it when you got into her class. And the illustrations in here might seem simplified because she's trying to show you how to do what she's talking about. She finally published a book when she was in her later years and kind of retired from drawing, but just the information is there. All right, so you guys who think it's easy, like this story thing, like I'm drawing comics, I can draw, I want to do this, and you get into visual storytelling because you think it's an easy way to get money or an easy way to get a job. This is really hard. Okay, if you want to get into this, you have to bring it. You have to study. You got to learn this stuff. The only way to do it, the only way I've done it, is because I was a very curious person, and I just would not settle until I was able to grasp the concepts, not only of storytelling, but of drawing. Drawing took me many, many years for me to feel comfortable with my drawing. And this is part of it because, well, I studied with people that I really value their instruction. And so this is the book that I'm telling you about that you guys should check out. Okay, so that's Drawing People by Barbara Bradley. Again, look her up. You can do a web search. I'm sure there's stuff you can find online for that. That's, this is kind of easy to digest. These are easy things that you can check out. Okay, let's talk about filmmaking and screen direction and cinema stuff. This is a highly recommended book. I read this when I was in college, and this is Shot by Shot by Stephen D. Katz. And this has made the rounds. A lot of people love the book because it's also very nicely broken down. And the illustrations here are just pretty basic, but they're clear. They get to you get the point. So don't look at this necessarily for storyboarding and compositional like illustration draftsmanship. Look at it for cinema, storytelling, screen direction, how to set up a shot, how to set up a scene. And you're gonna find that this has a really good breakdown of what to do. It even does go down to like talking about technical things with camera work and perspective. So Shot by Shot is a really highly recommended book for people getting into visual storytelling, cinema, narrative stuff. And I think I learned a lot about screen direction from this book. Certainly reinforced when I started working in the industry. So another really good book, I recommended this recently, highly recommended to everybody, is Save the Cat, okay, from Blake Schneider, right? And fortunately, he's not with us anymore either, apparently. I think he died early on, I think he had an unfortunate accident, but he left us with these great books, and it's a whole series of books that you can get. Okay, so, and again, these are relatively inexpensive. Let me see if I got a price on here. I think you could, $20. Might have gone up since again, this is an old book that I have for many years. So, but okay, now this is all words, right? So you got to read, but this is a really fun read. Okay, so like I'm telling you, don't just take this lightly that, this is going to be, storytelling is going to be easy. No, you got to study. You got to know how to do this. You got to know how to think, use your brain. You cannot turn your brain off. You got to think when it comes to storytelling and solving visual problems, because that's what you are. You are a thinking human being that can take your drawing skills, your story skills, and piece that together to solve a problem. And these guys will help you do it. Okay. And this is a really fun read. It's really well written, and he's a writer, he's a screenwriter, and it's coming from the source here. And it's a wonderful, fun, and very informative read. So this is one that I recommend for getting started with like story structure and using this, because I feel like this is a really good book to get into story structure. There's other ones that are more complicated that I have on my bookshelf, like Story from Robert McKee, or Sid Mead's book on screenwriting. Sid Field. Sid Mead is another badass artist, not necessarily screenwriter. Sid Field. And anyway, but I feel like you can start with these books. All right, so these are pretty low cost ways that you can get your visual storytelling up. And again, if you have no resources, you're dead broke, everything has gone bad in your life, let me tell you, you can do a web search. You can go to a library, when the libraries are open, whatever, borrow your friend's phone, smartphone, whatever you got to do, get some internet and do a search, and you're going to find these things. And it's going to be easy for you, or easier for you to learn this stuff than it was for me, because I literally had to just power through it. Okay, so let me tell you some other quick resources here. This one's a little bit hard to find. I found out this is rare, and I think this book costs like $90 or $100 now. I think this was a gift that somebody gave to me, and so I really highly value this book. This is the Steam Boy storyboard book by Katsuhiro Otomo, who's the director of that film, and is also an amazing artist. Okay, and if you flip through, it's the whole movie boarded out by that director. One guy did the whole film, and if you look at these drawings, you're like, this guy's amazing. So let me hold this up to the camera. If you can see some of this, and I'll just randomly flip. Beautiful line drawings and just amazing structure, like really tight composition. Some drawings are looser than others, but I mean, wow, just the storytelling, the amount of like visual beauty that you get in this stuff. And so what are you going to do with this? So you open up this book, you can, maybe you like Steam Boy or not, maybe you've seen it or not, you can compare it to the film. But what I really like about this book is you can see the simplification, the graphic technique that this guy's using because he's drawing trains and like crazy like pipes and parts and boats and like crazy difficult things to draw, but he's simplifying this with just line work, and it's a very clear storyboard, and just the way that he's doing it, you can copy these graphic shapes, copy expressions, copy it, literally sit there, draw it. Okay, so and then you memorize these shapes and you learn it. That's how you learn from these books, right? So what I would do, I'd take this book, it's super inspiring for me. I put it down on my desk while I'm working on my sequence, and I like flip through it to get some inspiration. Okay, how do I draw a cityscape? And I pull this up. It's got London on there. Look how awesome that is. Let me see if I can turn this to the camera a little bit better. So it's just the way you simplify that. Beautiful comic artist, and then you can put that in your storyboard, right? You get inspired a little bit. It's just like inspiration. So as I'm working on my sequence, I'll kind of look at this. Oh, okay, that's how he's doing these mouth shapes. That's how he's doing a hand, right? That's how he's getting a cool foreshortening perspective, right? That's how you study for this. Same thing goes for, so this is a little bit harder to come by. You can get these at like Kinokuniya, like a Japanese bookstore, or you can do a search online. I think this is a rare out-of-print book now, so it's like really hard to get. So anyway, if you don't get that, do a web search, man. Do a search for Otomo and see what comes up. Here's another one that you're gonna have an easy time doing a search for. This one is Princess Mononoke storyboard book. Same thing, where they published all of the storyboards, and it looks like in Japan a lot of directors board out all of the scenes of their film, and this is one from Miyazaki, and of course you guys should all know who Miyazaki is. Just an amazing draftsman, and the same kind of thing. Their drawing styles are very similar from Otomo to Miyazaki, but Miyazaki has a lot more like looser style, a lot fluidity with the way that he does his stuff, and it looks like Otomo is a little more tight. Okay. So anyway, so check out these things, and you can get them at the foreign bookstores. Another couple really good references I want to bring up here are, okay, gone through those, is this one from Hon Parker. This is Dream Worlds. I'll recommend this one. And again, do a search, and you can see what I love about this is the way he breaks down his composition. Okay, so just nice big bold shapes in composition, and you read through it and just again copy this stuff, learn this. All right. Okay, let me go through just real quick before my battery runs out, and then we gotta fly, and I'll take just a couple questions as long as my battery is good. Is that I want to get into a couple of like more deep books that are a little more dense. So this is for like the book nerds out there, and like those guys who are really going to study this stuff, because you have to sit down with the mindset of reading this and really absorbing this. So if you like to read, or maybe like at night you have it on your nightstand table, you can read 5 pages or so, and just do have your sketchbook there so you can do it. So this is Composing Pictures by Donald Graham. It was recommended by a good friend of mine who's an amazing concept artist, and she was telling me about this book, and it's very, very theoretical, very academic, and sometimes that stuff is cool. You can nerd out about it and be, oh yeah, this is like really, and he's bringing up classic fine art examples when you talk about composition. So Donald Graham was a very well-known instructor, and he taught all of the Disney heavyweights back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. And so this is a book of compiling his lectures, and it's a really like academic dense book on composition. So when you guys are ready for that, go for that one. And lastly, I want to show you this is How to Draw by Scott Robertson. Now the title I'm not so hot on. I think he probably could have titled this a little more accurate to what's in the book. Yes, it will teach you how to draw, but I think this is a very targeted and heavy emphasized book on perspective. So if you guys have Distract is talking about this book. So if you guys have seen this, and this is another dense book, you have to like sit down and want to learn it, right? Yeah, and Scott Robertson's amazing visual artist and designer. Okay, so this is published by Design Studio Press. You can get this, I'm sure, at the website. But check out these diagrams from like perspective, right? This gets in deep. Okay, but you need to understand this even if you're doing storyboards. And this is a good book that I recommend if you want to really master your perspective, right? Because it's going to teach you how to do like vehicle design, location design, perspective from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 point perspective. You get that warping lens, so you understand what that means. So again, this is a dense book. You have to go through it slowly and absorb the information, but highly recommended for your perspective. And that's it. So those are the ones I just want to touch upon. Like I said, you don't have to pay a lot of money. Just do a web search and just look at maybe some key things, and you could save some of these images on your phone or download them to your computer and do some sketches from it. This is so rich what we have as a culture now, especially if we have time and we have we're on downtime, let's say for the coronavirus. So they might as well take advantage of it. Let me have a sip of water here. Great. I love it that you guys are commenting that some of these books are really good. And thanks to Distract for saying that the book I wrote changed your life. All right, buddy. I love that. Let me see. Yeah, Framed Ink is another great recommendation here from Jason. Framed Ink by Marcus Mateu. I actually worked briefly. I met this guy. I met him a couple of times just at trade shows and things. I don't think he remembers me. But we worked together on a film back in Spain, and he was the art director. And he's a longtime DreamWorks guy, really great designer and wonderful illustrator. Framed Ink is a really good book, and I think he's got part 2 out. You guys should check that out. I follow him on Instagram. He's really, really good. So that's a great book. Visual Story by Bruce Block. There's another great recommendation by Jason. Yeah, that's another one that's kind of dense, but very valuable. See, I geek out about this stuff. I really get into the filmmaking and the technique and how composition affects the emotion. I love that stuff, and the more you can do it, the just the richness it's going to bring to your work. Okay, cool. Yeah, Vampire Hunter D. Yes. All right, Mark. I love it. You and me have similar taste, buddy. So I love Vampire Hunter D. If you guys know what that is, And I didn't know they had a style book or an art book for that, so I'll have to check that out. Cool. All right, let me see if there's any questions on Instagram here. Great. I love that you guys have seen some of these resources. Okay. What advice? Okay, so let me answer Casper Illustrations question here. Sergio, what advice would you give while productions are on hold? Okay, cool. This is a great topic. Now, I'll just warn you, if my battery runs out, well, I'm sorry, my friends, but the Instagram feed will die. But let me just keep going here. Look, man, I think what we have to do as artists, while we have a little bit of downtime, is really be on top of our skills and our portfolio. So I would highly recommend that now, if things are on hold and you suddenly got an opportunity to take a break, or you're off working on the grind for a particular project, because it can be really intense sometimes when you're working on these projects or getting clients. And maybe you might feel nervous because your client work dried up, right? What you should be doing is working on your portfolio and creating samples for yourselves, and also increasing the hustle. Okay, increasing the hustle as far as what you can do to get money. There's a great article that our contributor Wahab published the other day about basically really being smart about ways that you can make money, so you can get on. So I just want to a side comment here is keep up the hustle, right? And make sure that you can cover your economic base. And that means start doing T-shirts, do illustrations, get commissions from Instagram. There's a ton of ways, right, that you can start covering your financials essentially, and then that'll lead to more client work. And so you want to be progressing. So this is the main thing here I want you guys to understand, is that don't just take this lightly, that we have a little bit of downtime or things have shut down a little bit. Don't look at it as a negative. This is the one opportunity you're going to get to really put your portfolio together. And when things start lightening up, you can update your website and start reaching out to people on LinkedIn and stuff, and really make a solid base for yourself, so that when things pick up again, because we're going to have some economic fallout from this pandemic, right? This is going to be the truth. There are places that may not reopen up, businesses that might have not been able to weather this storm. And so we're going to have to be able to weather the storm as artists, and we're going to come out of this better, stronger, with better skills and more things to show in our portfolio, because the entertainment industry is not going away because of this. So keep that up and keep that going strong. Okay, cool. So let me see what other questions we have here. Let's see. When you were doing storyboards on Rebels, what things did you use for reference, like official 3D models, etc.? So we had reference from our 3D team. So we got assets and character designs and background designs. All of that was really, really great. I would use for character reference and stuff like that, I would just do web searches, and then I had pinned to my animation wall, or basically in my office, I had examples of things that inspired me. So there were turnarounds from the character designers on the project, facial expressions and stuff that they did. There were sculpts. So we had a really amazing sculptor, Darren Marshall, who many of you guys may not know who this is, but he's just the most fantastic sculptor and designer. And he did sculpts of all the character heads, and there were many different positions. So I'd use those as reference, and they were shot from many different angles, so you can take that as doing the character reference there. But then I would also look at a lot of anime and things that were inspired by the films. So those are some of the things I would do. For every episode and things that we were referencing, there would be a specific theme or topic. I remember one was we were doing something similar to Tremors, and another one was a horror film, and the other one was comedy. So you look up things like Aliens and other references there, and see what kind of lighting stuff that you could do, maybe compositional things to get that. So that was really fun, right? Okay. Have you ever read Movie Storyboards, The Art of Visualing? So this one's coming from Yafoni, I think. Yaponi, if I'm pronouncing that right. Have you read Movie Storyboards, The Art of Visualizing Screenplays? I have not. And if you have a link for us, please send that. That would be cool to check out. Yeah, for sure. Chad is giving us some more book reference here on Facebook. So How to Make a Webcomic is good for a lot of online stuff by Scott Kurtz. Yeah, I think I've seen that book. I don't have that one in particular, but that one, Scott Kurtz is a really great guy. Mark is saying, have you ever thought to build a storyboard class around a collection of books, kind of like a summer reading list? I have not. That's a great suggestion, Mark. I think one of the things that we did, or we tried to do with the mentorship, is with the mentorship group, which I mentioned earlier in this chat, is just to get people and the resources to like get them up to speed. And then when we started getting to the story exercises, they had something to lean on, and that was so that was something that we were maybe in the direction of what you're suggesting here. But I love that summer reading list. I think we did publish like a book recommendation list that we sent out to our StoryboardArt email list, and I'll have to dig that up and see where that is. A lot of the ones that we have here, I think, are probably on that list already. Let me see here. We got Saffron Arnold. What are the top 3 daily or weekly challenges we should be doing to progress our young story skills? Okay, first thing is what I like to call like some dojo training. The first thing you should be doing is gesture drawing, cafe sketches. I mean, if you can go out to a cafe, you can go out to a park, you can take a walk or like watch film reference or something to draw. So you want to do life drawing. That's the one thing you should be covering like almost every day if you can, right? For sure. When it comes to story ideas, the other things you want to doing is do film reference and like literally drawing from movies and films, right? So that's a really cool thing to do. Now, which ones? I would say just pick your favorite movies, make a list of your 10 favorite movies and rewatch them. At least you'll enjoy watching them, and then freeze frame them and start drawing those compositions. So that'll build up your visual memory. And then the other one that you can do, and a lot of people have done this already, if you're like lacking story exercises, I didn't mention this before because I feel like I'm a broken record, but I'm telling people about the visual story course because it's a free thing, it's a free resource that we put out there. And if you don't like it, you don't have to go through it, but we have really targeted lessons for the visual story course. Go to visualstorycourse.com and check that out. And those of you guys who are participating in that, you can see the great responses and just the wonderful enthusiasm and inspirational artwork that people have turned in. And you can do those exercises. So you can come up with story scenarios, single panel storytelling images, and you can put those in your portfolio and start building up there. So there's no one thing that you should be doing or like the top 3. There's many different things you can do, but I would say life drawing for sure, film study, and then also just working on sequences and improving your portfolio stuff. Cool. Hey, George, what's up, buddy? Good to see you. So George Castro is saying, story artist versus storyboard artist, is there a difference in your eyes? If so, what's your preference? Well, those are just terms. So the term story artist versus storyboard artist, you could consider a story artist somebody who actually doesn't draw storyboards, but they're thinking up stories. So this could be like a writer or, some kind of supervisor who's actually conceptualizing the story, if you think about it that way. I think they're both the same, really. So yeah, it really doesn't really matter. I think to shorten the term, I just call it story artist. But to me, it involves visual storytelling, narrative film, narrative storytelling, and it's just all of that encompassed together, right? So I think that's probably a good place to end this because not only my battery's about to run out, but also I don't want to go on forever with these things. I would recommend too, go check out the resources that we have on our book recommendations and some of the stuff that I just showed you here, and hopefully that can get you in the right direction and get you inspired for doing this. Keep being curious and learning. Don't ever turn your brain off when it comes to story work. That's the one thing you need strong and sharp always. So you have to have sharp skills, good drawings, that's true, but you also have to have thinking ability, being able to solve story problems, understanding what it's going to do for your story sequences, how to build that structure, knowing what decisions to make, which shots to do for the next scene. All of that is really, really important. It's the critical thinking process when it comes to being a story artist, okay? Keep that up. All right, friends. Well, for now, keep working hard and stay safe out there, and we'll talk soon. We're going to have a couple more of these this week, so I hope to do that again. All right. See you, friends. Bye-bye.